I'd like to call this meeting of the Collin County Republican Men's Club to order. We'll start off with the salutes to the things that we hold most dear to us. JJ, could you lead us in the U.S. flag salute, please?
Would everybody please stand and join me in the pledge to our nation's flag? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, JJ. And let's salute the Texas flag. Richard, would you lead us in that?
Right here, but I have to ask a question. Those who are native Texans, will you please raise your hand? Come on, it's got, okay, we got the majority of people.
Yeah.
Okay. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Richard. So I'd like to lead us in an invocation. Please join me in prayer. Our Father in heaven, when we look around and our world is in chaos, the times seem uncertain and hope seems lost. Grant us the grace to live by faith and not by the sight of our circumstances. Help us to remember that you are on your throne and in control of all that happens. We come before you, our Father, and make these requests in bold confidence, not in our own name or accomplishments, but in the name of your Son, who is worthy of all our praise and deserving of our full allegiance. Amen. Amen. As we all know, I like to start off the same way. As we all know, the CCRMC, the Collin County Republican Men's Club, is where men and women join together, learn together, and work together for the Republican Party by promoting our goals and principles. We're most noted for our monthly meeting keynote speakers, Texas-based and non-Texas-based political figures, public servants, global diplomats, distinguished scholars, and other thought leaders speaking on immigration, terrorism, foreign competition, and other subjects. Tonight is no different, as we'll be hearing from Julia Pierce, VP of Campaigns on the board of the Park Cities Republican Women's Club. And she'll be speaking on the Democrat war on women and reaching key voter blocks. Very critical subjects. First, I'd like to go cover some club and political announcements and business. Richard, would you come up and talk to us about the Board of Trustees and the club member elections and nominations?
Well, it's that time of year again, and as chairman of the election committee, I'm open to receive any nominations from the floor or any member in particular. You want to talk about becoming an officer in our club, give me a call. We'll grab a scotch, if that's okay with you, okay? And then we'll talk a little bit of politics. The committee has reviewed. First of all, we would like to ask all the standing officers. I'm going to start with Eric Novak, President. J.J. Miller, J.J. is President-elect. Weldon Block, what is your position, Weldon? I have a problem.
Secretary.
Huh? Are you Secretary, Weldon? Weldon,
Well, you
stand
gotta
up.
get the name right.
So everybody can see.
You gotta get his name right.
What is Wendell?
It's okay if you keep
Hey,
calling
man.
Weldon. That's okay. That'll be fun.
I'm just getting even with you. Okay?
What's that?
I'm just getting even with you for not going hunting with us.
Oh, you can,
Okay,
yeah, you
a
can.
little
go
bit
ahead.
upset about all that. Tim McCord, where's Tim? Tim, you've been our treasurer for how many years?
52.
Huh?
52.
52. All right. And our books are still balanced. Thank you, Tim. All right. Mark, where's Mark Myers? All right, Mark is our Vice President of Program and doing an excellent job. Okay. Where's Chuck? Where's Charles? Not here tonight?
Oh, yeah,
Sabola?
Charles.
Okay, he's on the road. All right, Charles Sabola. All right, now membership. Andrew, where's Andrew? Is he not here tonight? Okay. Let's go to Laura Height. Laura, you're in technology?
Yeah.
How do you spell computer?
Computer finish.
You got it figured out. Okay. And Sergeant of Arm, Steve Callis. Steve, stand up. Now, this will be our officers, and we'll make a recommendation that everybody serve a second year. But again, if anybody wants to get involved, then that includes you. You've been around too long, okay? And but getting me off track. Now, trustees. Trustees are the past presidents of the club. First is Mark Rutledge. Mark's on the road. Delore, stand up again, Delore. Okay. Ravi's not here. Ravi's wife has had surgery. So, and John Myers, where's our dear friend John Myers? Okay, past president-elect, and myself. So we have 5 trustees that sort of look over the budget. We don't want anybody to run off with their money, right? So, you know, one of the greatest honors. Now, this is our club. You said this is 52 years. We're the oldest club in the county. And today there's 8 or 10 of them, okay, all a bunch of new ones. But we were the only club. We were the men's club. The women's club had 2 clubs, one that met in the daytime and one that met at night. And that's how everything got started, okay? But we have a tremendous legend, can I call that? We did the golf tournament for the scholarships for 17 years. We did parades for 20 years on Independence Day, so we have a tremendous record, and we've been outstanding supporters of Lincoln Day. We have the, can I say the distinction? Here's about the record. We've sold more tables at Lincoln Day than any other group in the county. So we have a strong heritage that you can be proud of. And you can be proud of serving as an officer in our club. So I invite you to give me a call and discuss your role, and I'll bring the scotch.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. And also Masood Safi, who assists in tech and also in membership.
That's right.
So let me quickly just ask JJ or Stephen, whoever's close over there, can we recognize any guests or new members?
Sure. Go ahead. You've already got it. Robert Elliott. Ryan Krug.
You got the name right.
All
Thank you.
right. And Ken Pittman.
A usual thanks to our President-elect J.J. Miller for providing the snacks. He is the most important person in the room, I like to say. A quick note about a recent judicial appointment. Governor Greg Abbott has appointed Robert Brian Gant to the 471st Judicial District, man, we're a big state, 471st Judicial District Court in Collin County. His investiture ceremony will take place Friday, October 25th at 2 p.m. at the Collin County Courthouse Central Jury Room, reception immediately following. We consistently need each and every Collin County patriot to be contributing in some way during this cycle. This is really critical. The race is tightening, so obviously here are 3 key dates. Early voting by personal appearance starts October 1st, Monday. The last day to apply for a ballot by mail is October 25th, and the last day of early voting is Friday, November 1st. So keep those in mind if you're going to do early voting or get a ballot by mail. Just in random order, I grabbed 3 key races that seem to pop up in the news to me. Ted Cruz against Colin Allred. I didn't get a chance to see the debate, but I'm sure it's recorded somewhere, so I want to watch that. Beto was within 3 points, and Colin is getting, right now, last I read, was in 3 points, so we need to really get it out for Ted. Keith Self and Sandeep Srivastava for U.S. Representative. Steve Kennard versus Mahalia Palesa, if I'm saying that right, for House District 70. She's the incumbent.
Incumbent.
And she's the incompetent.
You got it right.
So mean. Anyway, but she won by only 900 votes 2 years ago. So let's get out there. Let me do this, ask the technical guy
The
to.
first
Oh,
changed by
can you go
itself.
back one? Oh, it changed by itself?
We're gonna go
Maybe
back
it's your
to
mind
that one.
control. Go back one. I want to save the
go back.
last one, the exciting one. So,
Oh, sorry.
okay, okay, thank you. So here, I just wanted to go over election volunteer opportunities for the most important election in our lifetime. We get so many of them every 2 to 4 years. So there's block walking, most effective form of volunteer voter contact. Door to door, identify Republican voters. Typically, we're getting Republican voters, reminding them to vote. Poll greeting, locating outside of polling places to represent the party. Display signs, welcome voters, hand out literature. Phone banking, contact voters. John Myers, about 14 years old, you were phone banking?
10 years old.
10 years old.
Back in Kansas.
What an IQ. I can't, it's phenomenal. Contact voters via the phone and remind them about voting. Write a short script or get some help to do so. I've done all 3 of those. I block walked quite a bit several years ago. Poll greeting, I brought my wife with me, so it was more pleasant because she's a lot prettier than I am. And phone banking was really interesting and challenging because I had to write a script that would be just long enough to, because usually you're getting phone machines and you're getting recording. So that was really interesting. I tell you, each situation I learned something else and it was really fun. Poll watching I haven't done, but my son has poll watched. My son poll watched 2 cycles ago and thought it was a great time. He really thought it was neat. Sign delivery. Deliver signs to folks that have requested them or do sign setup. With that, let me ask Stephen Callis. You're in charge of helping to nominally helping out with signs. Is there anything that anyone needs to know about volunteering to put out the signs?
We're gonna try and have another crew show up here on Saturday morning for 9 o'clock. But I have to confirm that we have T-posts and adequate signs to make it worth everybody's while. I have a list of names that I used the 2 previous times. I'll follow up with everybody probably on Friday once I get confirmation from Terry that we have adequate T-posts and we have signs set to go. We're at kind of a quasi-saturation level, and of course we're getting these reports in, well, you need signs here, you need signs there. I can't say that we have a cohesive plan yet. I'd be lying. But what I can suggest is we have an absolute ton of those beautiful signs we had made up over there. If everybody here would take 2 of those with them and find 2 friends that would be kind enough to put one of those in their front yard, that would, there's no help sitting here. And then
Would
they need to
alleviate
get out in
a lot
the
of
next
the
2
overhead.
weeks. So,
Absolutely. Okay.
tell your friends.
Yes.
Quick 30 seconds.
Sure.
Last night, the executive committee of the Collin County Republican Party endorsed 4 candidates in Princeton. Now, we all know Ted Cruz, Keith Self, Steve Kennard, those are priority 1. However, if someone lives in Princeton or near Princeton, or if you live far north, or you have volunteer friends that live way out there, maybe they can't come to Plano to help Steve or Keith, but if they could come to Princeton, if they live close there, we could use their help to promote the 4 Princeton municipal candidates. There's 2 city council and 2 ISD candidates, conservative. They're up against some very progressive leftists that are trying to get on the board in Princeton.
Thank you. Is there some contact?
We have a flyer. The contact will be Cindy Darland, and I'll make sure to send you the flyer that we have to help promote that. So the GOP will also start putting some things out on social media. We don't want to take away from Steve Kennard, and those are high priority, but we know folks that may live further away, can't drive to Plano, and hey, maybe you could drive a mile or 2 to Princeton and help out.
Okay.
I'll
Great.
make sure to send that to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So if that's not enough, ta-da. Timing. It's everything. So if that's not enough, there is the Ultimate Red Wave. It's a little short notice, but will be very interesting, and it'd be interesting to see if it gets coverage. So 5 miles of Central Expressway tomorrow on the 18th during rush hour, 5 to 6 p.m. Red-capped, flag-waving patriots across the bridges. And then Backcountry Barbecue has volunteered to feed everybody afterwards. So if you RSVP, I think you can go to savetexasrally.com. There's a contact, Serena Nolan. So it's up there. And then Trump Force 47 Captain Training. So rally the Trumpster community to victory with Congressman Pat Fallon and Trump Campaign State Director Jessica Colon. That's also on Friday, 11:30 to 1:30. That's going to be right here, the headquarters. It's limited to 70 attendees. I think last night there were 48 places still open, so pizza will be provided. So, as I've said before, I just want to say it again. It's time to be more committed and more engaged and therefore more relevant in the upcoming election than ever before. In honor of Halloween, let's not let another 4 scary years happen. Now, I just want to introduce our VP of Programming, Mark Myers. He'll introduce this evening's speaker.
As Eric mentioned, our speaker for this evening is Julia Pierce, and her topic will be the Democrat war on women and reaching key voter blocs. Obviously, the Democrats feel like women are one of their voting groups, but if you peel back the layers a little bit, you'll find out that actually the Democrats aren't really supporting women in many cases. They are attacking women. So a little bit about Julia. Julia grew up in Arkansas, Razorback.
Big Zooey.
While growing up, she won the state spelling bee of Arkansas. Pretty impressive. But fairly early on in her life, she got a little smarter, and she came to Texas and went to the great University of SMU, where she got her bachelor's degree in accounting and then a master's in accounting at SMU. You know, accountants are, you know, a little bit, you know, they think that a statistician is somebody with a lot of personality. So the accounting field, although she was well qualified for it, and actually participated in that field for some period of time, she has found other purposes for her life since then. She is a successful real estate professional in Dallas and a passionate political activist. She serves as vice president of campaigns for the Park Cities Women's Republican Club and as a communications resource for the Dallas County Republican Party. She also does work for the Metroplex Civic and Business Association to turn out local and nonpartisan voting to elect candidates that are more pro-business. She's a very adventuresome spirit. A little personal note about her to give you an idea of the sense of adventure she has. When she was 21, still at SMU, she decided that she needed to take a trip to Vegas for a wedding. And so her initial transportation plans didn't work out quite perfectly. So she got the great idea that she would hitchhike to
It was 21st birthday party.
for a 21st birthday party. Yes, it was going to take place
Not a wedding.
in Vegas. And so I guess it was, she hitched a ride in Albuquerque, and then went to El Paso, and then went on to Vegas. But somewhere early in that trip decided it might be a good idea to call her mother. And said, you know, kind of alluded to the fact that she was thinking of hitchhiking. I'm going to hitchhike. And so her mother promptly said, "You do not get in that car." And she said, "Well, Mom, I'm already in the car." So I pointed out to her that, that was before about 21 million illegal aliens came into the United States. So it was probably a safer time for hitchhiking, but nevertheless demonstrates the adventuresome spirit of tonight's speaker. Let's welcome Julia Pierce.
Thank you. You kind of stole a little bit of my intro about myself, so if some of this is repetitive, I apologize. But good evening, everyone. It is an absolute honor to stand before such a dedicated group of men and women who share a commitment to the values that empower us all. Today, we gather not just as Republicans, but as champions of freedom, family, and the foundational rights of every woman in our great nation. On a quick note, just a little sidebar, I may be a master in networking because that's what I do professionally, but I am not a huge public speaker, so not sure how this is going to go. Bear with me, and we'll see how it plays out. I wanted to go ahead and give you a little background about myself that maybe Mark, he probably covered some of it. The hitchhiking story was not as bad as it kind of sounded, but I was determined to get to a 21st birthday party. I got stuck in Albuquerque, so 21-year-olds, you're going to get to Vegas one way or the other, and I did, even though my mom said no. But I grew up absolutely loving politics and listening to Rush Limbaugh with my mom. I think that's where I get a lot of my passion from. My mother is very passionate about politics, and so she's someone I get to talk to all the time about it. I then worked on a congressional campaign at the age of 16, and then was an intern in D.C. at the age of 18. I was actually the youngest intern in D.C. I think they said in history, but I don't know if that's true or not. I know you're supposed to be 21, and I definitely was not 21. I had 2 roommates that both went to the University of Georgia, so that's where I had wanted to go to school. Because I just thought they were the coolest, and I was 18 and they were 21, and I was living at George Washington University. And so I had a really great summer being an intern. Came home wanting to go to Georgia, and my mom said, no, you're going to SMU. And that's where she went. So if we have any little ponies in here, pony up. Very, very proud of the SMU Mustangs this season. So anyway, that made for a very interesting experience and forced me to mature in different ways from my peers once I got back to school. I went off to SMU for undergrad and graduate school, where I got my master's in accounting. I went and worked in public accounting at KPMG and at Deloitte & Touche. And I will just say that maybe my personality wasn't cut out for accounting, being locked away in a conference room 80 to 90 hours a week. So I decided to maybe say goodbye to that career. And fast forward a few years, I got into real estate, which is what I do now. But more to the political side of me, I have been a Trump loyalist since he was in Home Alone 2. Not sure how many of y'all know that movie. Y'all probably watched it with your kids or grandkids. But I thought he was just the coolest growing up. And I knew when he came down that escalator he was going to be our president. And in 2015, and I said there was no doubt in my mind. I argued with many of my conservative friends because I think there were 17, 18 other candidates that he was running against, and they were saying, "You're crazy for thinking that Donald Trump's going to be president." I said, no. He's not going to do anything unless he knows he will win. And when he did, so getting involved in politics, I was a bit confused on where to start, minus going to meetings such as this, which obviously very beneficial. But I wanted to kind of dig a little deeper. So the first thing I did, I became an election judge. I wanted to understand the process of our election system, which I will talk more about here in a minute. But so that's one thing. I also served on as the Vice President of Campaigns for the Park Cities Republican Women, and I assist in communications for the Dallas County Republican Party. I also work for the nonprofit. I feel like you just kind of gave my whole intro away here, but I'll keep going. But MCBA, it stands for Metroplex Civic and Business Association, and it is backed by a conservative in Dallas. all Texas local elections are nonpartisan, so you cannot vote down the ballot. You can't say, I'm going to vote all Republican, because once you get to the local elections, there's no R or D by the names. So a lot of people, especially out in these counties, the districts all overlap. So you could see in your neighborhood 3 signs for school board, 3 different candidates, and you won't know who to vote for because you have to know exactly your address and what district, county line you fall in. So it gets pretty complex and kind of convoluted, and I don't feel like they really do a good job of, especially because local campaigns don't have a lot of money, so they don't do a great job of helping you as voters understand who to vote for, or, you know, unless you really do your research. I think about 95% of people don't for local elections. So that's what my nonprofit does, is we have a proprietary software that you give me your address, I can tell you exactly who, from an outside consulting firm standpoint, who they would say is the most pro-business candidate. So that would be who we would recommend you vote for. It just so kind of happens that most pro-business people are also conservative. So even though we're nonpartisan, it is kind of it is a group of like-minded people, and but anyway, so we have a voter guide which we give everyone, and ask that people vote for the most pro-business candidates. Local elections are often swayed by 100 to 200 votes in these counties, and that's it for Dallas County. So these counties would be even less. So when you get companies that maybe say have 10 employees, 50 employees, and they're all voting the same way, you can unseat liberal city councilmen. So you really can make a huge impact. Part of the problem for local voting, though, is that most people don't realize our elections are in May. And another issue is that people don't know who to vote for, as there is no R&D by their name. Let's see. So I'll discuss that with you all later. So for Dallas County, with as many millions of people that we have, we only had 88,000 people vote. 88,000. And 88,000 people determined that the $1 billion spending package would be passed. So that raised our property taxes, it did a number of things, it made housing higher, but that was just from 88,000 votes. And it's crazy when you think about that, and from that perspective. So with my nonprofit, we also encourage everyone just to please go vote locally. So I became very interested in voter fraud back in 2020. I think we all saw the videos of the ballot boxes being wheeled in and out. And Trump kept harping on about it, and I feel like he got a bad rap because they kind of told him, you've got to stop talking about it and pivot because people don't want to hear about it anymore. Everyone kept saying he was making it up, and even today in the debates, they asked that question, well, like, do you still think there was voter fraud? And the answer is yes. And that is what I learned from being an election judge. But I think we can all agree that that's a hard yes. And for example, Governor Abbott just a few weeks back found over 1 million votes on the voter rolls that did not belong there, from either people that lived out of state, people that were dead. I mean, it's like, or voting illegally. So it's definitely there, and it's running rampant. And I hope and pray that on November 5th we storm not the Capitol, but we storm the ballot boxes and overwhelmingly are able to win victoriously. But let's see. So yeah, so if 81 million people voted for Biden, I have yet to see one voter. So to tell me that Biden received more votes than Obama, I think is just laughable, and that is gaslighting at its finest, kind of what they're doing to us now with Kamala. So I was very interested in all of this, and I wanted to learn more about it. So the first thing I did was I became an election judge. I cannot recommend this enough, mostly because you're doing your civic duty as an American, but also so you can see how the voting process works and how easy it is to be rigged or manipulated, and that we desperately need election reform. I was speaking with State Senator Bob Hall a few months back, and he told me a story of where they literally proved that the Dominion voting machines are hackable. Apparently, they wheeled the machine into an Atlanta courthouse and showed the judge how it was able to be hacked. By this point, though, the damage had already been done. Tucker was fired from Fox. Fox settled with Dominion for $750 million, but more importantly, people didn't believe that they were hackable unless you followed the story, which got little to no coverage. That is just one of the ways that they were able to steal the election. But if there is no oversight from the opposing party, Republican or Democrat, a group running the polling center could corrupt it easily. When I worked as an election judge for the March primary, I went to the bathroom for about 2 or 3 minutes, and on my way back down, I was at a school, so I'm walking down the school hallway, and I overhear the Democrat co-election judge telling this group of Hispanics, "Oh no, you can't vote for Donald Trump," and because they were registered Democrats. But in a primary, you can change your ballot. And so luckily, I overheard that, and I sprinted down the hallway and caught about 20 of them. And they came strictly, they didn't want to vote for anybody else, they just wanted to vote for Donald Trump. And it was very important to them. I mean, you could see it on their face. I don't even know if they'd really voted many times before, but they wanted to vote for Donald Trump. And so I helped them change all their ballots, and because we're in a primary, that is legal to do, but the Democrat judge turned them away. They were literally leaving the school building when I stopped them. So, that's 20 votes, but I mean, if you do it across the board, it adds up, especially as close of an election that we're in now. But many polling centers in DFW and nationwide do not have enough election judges for the Republican Party, which would allow the cheating to take place. And that's what we saw back in 2020 on TV when the ballot boxes again were being stuffed and being wheeled in and out. But if you are looking to get involved in the election and are wanting to do something that has an immediate impact, I couldn't recommend being an election judge or clerk more. And it's not too late to sign up to take the training. But if y'all have any questions about this afterwards, please come find me. So I kind of went ahead and discussed the voter integrity and election portion of my talk and went off on my little tangent, as it is something I'm very passionate about. While it might not be the glitzy work on the front line and getting into fun pictures at political events, it is some of the most crucial and meaningful work that we can do for the 2024 election. That and getting people out to vote. I know I don't have to tell y'all to go vote, but I want you to think of 5 to 10 friends or colleagues or family members and take them to the voting poll with you. I'll also encourage you to vote early, because we are in a fight of our lifetime. And like Elon Musk said the other day, this will be our last election if Trump does not win. So now, just with all that, let it sink in, I'm about to hit you with something even heavier. I'm here to discuss this evening the topic that I'm also very passionate about. What we're witnessing is an alarming trend that I believe deserves our urgent attention, and that is the war on women waged by the Democratic Party. So we must beg the question that has become so very clear these days. Why do Democrats despise women when they claim to be the party for women? That's not a political hyperbole. It's a serious and legitimate question that we should all be asking ourselves. How else can one explain why elected Democrats nearly unanimously oppose efforts at the state level to prohibit gender-confused biological boys and men who identify as girls and women from competing in school and other athletic events against biological females? Forget climate change. These Democrats are the true science deniers. Deniers of biological reality, genetics, XXXY chromosome science, and they apparently have no qualms about transgender women, aka biological males, hijacking our women's sports and beating them at their own games. If girls and women have to be deprived of athletic accolades and awards, trophies, prize money, scholarships that they have worked their entire lives for to advance the transgender agenda, so be it. That's what the Democrats seem to be telling us. Sounds to me like women just aren't all that important anymore, and that the trans community takes rank. There have been over 30 separate girls and women's sports titles that have been won by biological males or have included them on part of the winning team in the last 19 years, with the trend accelerating exponentially in the last 3. 2 men just won women's gold medals in the last Summer Olympics. 2 men won women's medals, okay? When would we have ever thought we'd live in a world where they so blatantly are telling us that we as women do not matter as much as transgender people do? And after fighting so hard for the equal rights, now a man dressed up as a woman can win our awards, take our jobs, and our hard-earned opportunities that we have worked so very, very hard for. Consider the tragic case of the volleyball player in North Carolina who suffered a severe injury after being attacked by a transgender athlete. This is not just an isolated incident. It's a reflection of a much larger issue that demands our attention. Where is the outrage from the Democratic women, both in Congress and out? Their silence speaks volumes about their complicity in this ongoing narrative. There isn't any outrage as far as I can tell. To the contrary, Democratic Pennsylvania State Representative LaTosha Mays unsuccessfully sought to pressure the University of Pittsburgh to cancel a speaking appearance by Riley Gaines, who is a 12-time NCAA All-American swimmer who lost the races to trans swimmer Leah Thomas, aka William Thomas. And on a little side note, Riley Gaines is going to be our guest speaker for our Christmas luncheon at the PCRW on December 9th. So I would love for all of you to attend. Now back to more serious stuff. But if Democrats actually care about women and the equalities for women like they claim, why won't elected Democratic women speak out against those same trans women invading girls' and women's private spaces, from restrooms to locker rooms? If you're female and you object to sharing those intimate facilities with women displaying male genitalia, girls, not they, are the problem. They're not the problem. We are the problem, somehow. Last year marked the 50th anniversary of the passage of Title IV, which was intended to level the athletic playing fields for girls and women. However, it has apparently been swept into the dustbin of history with Democrats' silent acquiescence. To add insult to injury, the Biden administration has been seeking to amend Title IV through administrative rulemaking to have it prohibit not only discrimination on the basis of sex, but also on the basis of gender identity. Democrats' silence was also deafening when the White House hosted an International Women's Day event that honored a group of 11 extraordinary women from all over the world who are working to build a brighter future for all. That sounds great, doesn't it? Except for the fact that one of the 11 honorees was a man. So, not sure how that works or plays out, but here we are. But perhaps to me, one of the most appalling and offensive examples of all was at federal judge Ketanji Brown Jackson's Senate confirmation hearing, when Biden's Supreme Court Justice-to-be couldn't or wouldn't answer Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn's basic biology question, which was, can you provide a definition for the word woman? To which Ms. Jackson responded, I can't. I'm not a biologist. One of the smartest women, I was supposed to be in our country, couldn't define what a woman is, even being a woman herself. Immediately, I was distraught and thought to myself, this has got to be a joke. Sadly, it was not. And on that day, women were dissed once again and basically told that we don't exist or matter. None of the 16 Democratic women in the Senate criticized Ms. Jackson's answer, much less voted against her elevation to the Supreme Court. Silence is assent. The left used to tell us in other protest contexts. Silence is assent, such as the George Floyd peaceful protests. Hence, Democrats' failure to object to any of this is effectively assenting to the fraudulent construct of transgender women, which is, just so you know, an estimated 0.003% of the population, with its accompanying dissing of real females, which we are 51% of the population. So it begs the question, why are women being sidelined to trans women? That's the price of the transgender cultural revolution that radical leftist Democrats, apparently including self-loathing biological women, perhaps suffering from a bizarre form of Stockholm syndrome or something, are fighting at every turn to impose. It all serves to underscore what a difference a decade makes. I don't know if y'all remember back in 2010 when the GOP won control of Congress in the midterm elections, Democrats began accusing Republicans of waging a war on women because of our pro-life legislation that we were proposing. And now look at where we are in 2024. We are worrying about our children in schools and locker rooms and libraries, having our children indoctrinated, which is only breeding a deeper and more disturbed generation that will one day be in control. But that, I believe, is the goal of the Democrats, to confuse us so deeply that we just let the government take over our lives altogether, and the gift that we have as Americans to be free thinkers is taken away from us or slowly dissipates. Women have become somewhat indoctrinated into thinking their power lies in emasculating men, making as much money as men. Women are becoming empowered by having abortions, and this is all tearing up the nuclear family or causing them to never be created. Women have become somewhat brainwashed into thinking we don't need men. We were taught to work and be successful in our own rights, but now that is kind of backfiring as marriages are on the decline, divorce rates are on the incline, and childbirth for the first time ever is also on the decline. Have y'all ever heard of the term DINK? It's D-I-N-K, or D-I-N-C, dual income, no children. So men are even being conditioned to think that that is what's more important in life rather than building and creating a family. So if we aren't having children and illegals from countries all over the world are flooding our country, where does this leave us down the road? It's a slow, long-term plan that I believe is to wipe out Western civilization off the map so that we become a globalist country. Back to the issue of abortion, one that is so hard for Republicans to get around. I believe this to be an attack on women, as we should protect and help them rather than encouraging them to end the baby's life. How emotionally and mentally detrimental must be for a woman to do this act. It's an issue that the Democrats are beating us at every single election. I mention this not to get in the nitty-gritty of it all, but to point out something that I hope you will reflect on and possibly share with others. It's something I've thought a lot about. The Democrats have built up women so much into thinking that killing babies is empowering to them because men shouldn't be able to tell women what to do with our bodies. But what about flipping the script? What about empowering women to have the baby? Because it is the one blessing from God that He gave to women and to women alone. No matter how much money or how much power you have, men can never do what women can do, and that is to produce and birth a baby in our womb. How cool would it be if women began thinking the opposite of what they think now? To keep the baby instead of killing it. To bring life to this world instead of ending it. How powerful are women when we can do the one thing that you men, I'm sorry, cannot do? That should be championed and cheered on by all people so that we can slowly start to deprogram the message that abortion somehow is empowering for women as they slam the phrase, "my body, my choice," down our throats. Not sure where that phrase was during COVID, but that's a discussion for another day. Another issue that the Democrats have waged war on us women is the border and illegals crossing daily. More than 150 Democrats voted against Congresswoman Nancy Mace's bill, which would ensure undocumented immigrants convicted of sex offenses are deported. Why would they do that if they are pro-women, as they claim? As a single female myself, I now have to worry every time I leave my home, as we've had so many incidents in Dallas lately, and in the Park Cities, where the Venezuelan gangs are beating women almost to death. They're coming to parks where women and their children are playing, and coming to shopping centers in the Park Cities. My dear friend Sarah was with her children at the tennis courts in the Park Cities a few weeks ago, where a group of gang members pulled up into the parking lot, and luckily she carries a gun everywhere she goes. But she had her kids hurry back to the car, she had her gun out and got in the car and sped away. This is in Highland Park. What kind of America are we living in when this is an actual reality? And I tell this story to friends, and they're like, oh, no, that's not happening to us. We're in Park Cities. And I'm like, oh, no, this is in the Park Cities. And that goes along with human and sex trafficking, too. But think of the case like Laken Riley, an innocent student brutally murdered by an illegal immigrant. Letting illegals in, who are mostly men and young children, into our country has become a direct attack on women, where human and sex trafficking numbers have soared. Today, there are 49.6 million in modern slavery worldwide, and 12 million of them are children. 54% of those trapped in modern slavery are women and girls. This is due to the border policies pushed by Biden, Kamala, and the Democrats, encouraging an open border and letting the illegals flood into our country. A few final points I wanted to touch on, and then I will open it up to some questions. First point is family dynamics, okay? We have seen a cultural shift where the push for women's careers has often taken precedence over family life. This shift has led to a weakening of traditional family roles. According to the Pew Research Center, the U.S. birth rate is at its lowest in nearly a century, with a total fertility rate of 1.64 children per woman, far below the replacement level of 2.1. This decline signifies that fewer families are being formed, and parenting is often seen as secondary to their career ambitions. The second point is the work-life balance pressures. Moreover, the expectation for women to have it all, to excel in their careers while managing family responsibilities, has placed an unprecedented pressure on them. A study by the American Psychological Association found that working mothers experience higher levels of stress and burnout compared to their counterparts in traditional family setups. And this isn't just a personal issue. It affects the well-being of our children and families as a whole. A third point that I was thinking about is the sexual liberation consequences. While sexual liberation was intended to empower women, it has led to extreme unintended consequences. Many argue that this newfound freedom has resulted in the objectification of women, with media and advertising often exploiting women's bodies for profit. A 2020 report from the Gina Davis Institute on Gender and Media revealed that women are still often portrayed in ways that emphasize their appearance over their achievements, contributing to a culture that can devalue genuine empowerment. When you see Kamala's rallies and you have singers twerking, dancing, whatever you want to call it, and singing profanities on stage, it only goes to show that the Democrats look at women as objects and are perpetuating this narrative that women need to act promiscuous to be empowered, which is not how Republicans view women or believe women should be. Another point is the erosion of traditional values. These cultural and economic shifts are viewed by many as part of a broader agenda to erode traditional values, which I would argue weakens the social fabric of our communities. When family structures are destabilized, we are creating a society where individuals are more isolated and less connected to one another. And that goes to my point above about the breakdown of the nuclear family, which is the most important aspect of humanity, having a family. In conclusion, it is essential for us as Republicans to recognize the implications of these trends and to advocate for policies that support families, traditional values, and the true empowerment of women, not just in the workplace, but in their homes and in their communities. We must work together to ensure that women can thrive in every aspect of life, but that family remains a priority in our society. If it weren't for squeamish country club Republicans with an aversion to social issues, Democrats could be made to pay a steep price at the polls for despising women so much. So, what can you men do to help us? Firstly, go vote. Getting the male vote out will ensure a Trump victory, and we need every one of y'all's votes to cancel out the crazy Kamala cat ladies. On a more serious note, you can fully support and stand up against our children being indoctrinated at school, elementary all the way through college, men playing in women's sports, supporting your wives or girlfriends to not put so much pressure on themselves to be the breadwinner or of equal value financially, to cherish what women are doing or are great at doing, and what God intended for women to do, which is to be a nurturer and a caretaker. Champion women when they are great mothers and mentors and leaders in their communities. Be the provider and the alpha male that God intended you all to be. Republicans have the better message on crime, pro-family, economy, and parental choice. So get out there and talk to as many people as you can. And lastly, do not be a white dude for Kamala. I really thank you for your time and appreciate y'all for inviting me to come out and speak. Do y'all have any questions?
In your involvement with Republican communication, are there, and you mentioned several themes that really beat back that idea that the Democrat Party is the pro-female party. Are there, of the ones that you've seen, are there any that are gaining more traction, any themes that gain more traction that you see the Republican Party paying attention to pushing out more?
Well, the one I would say, well, not that we're pushing it out more, it's the abortion issue. If we can't get a better message around abortion, like Trump said, we are going to lose every election. And if we lose every election, we can't make change. We can't do anything about it. So it's quite frustrating. I don't know if it's a certain issue that we're pushing out more on women's behalf. Definitely the whole child care credit thing. But to me, the abortion issue is just so frustrating because it's like as soon as that's like such a hot topic, they know, the Democrats know just to push the abortion button. And then these women, suburban women, which I don't even understand because most of these suburban women have children and have families. Why are they so triggered by the abortion topic? And why not start championing women to say, hey, don't have the abortion, keep the baby. That's a blessing from God. I do think that, you know, like Trump says, there's got to be some kind of parameter, just because I wouldn't, you know, want a mother to be forced to, if she was raped by, you know, a family member, to, you know, so there's got to be something there. But the Republicans have to get a firmer message on it. I think Trump and Vance, I think what Vance did at the debate the other night, when he was talking about family and respecting the women, that was one of the stronger messages I've heard so far. Usually Republicans, they hear the word and they just run the other way. And then the Democrats beat us, so.
You know, we have to go fishing in other ponds for our votes, you know, and women, it's gonna be like Bunny Pounds registered 1 million Christians for this election. She reached her goal. So I think if people start reaching out to their churches and like-minded people and make sure they're registered to go vote.
Well, and I think the stat on Christians is either 30 or 40% only vote. So if we could get that up by 10%, we could win the election easily.
Yeah, Christians and gun owners.
And then secondly, it's gun
Percentage
owners.
of voting.
It's crazy to me because it's like you complain about your Second Amendment rights, but yet you're not going to vote. You have no right to complain if you don't go vote. That's the way I look at it.
What is your sense in terms of the momentum currently in the presidential election?
I think Trump's going up, and I think Kamala's tanking. I think that was obvious by the interview she did last night. That wasn't scripted. The questions weren't given to her. You could tell by the beginning of her interview that she was totally freaked out. That she was very combative. She looked angry. She looked like a pissed off woman. And that's not a very appealing quality when women act that way. It just people want to run the other way. So I don't think that helped her at all last night. And so the more that they're putting her out there because they're being forced to, the more her numbers are dropping and Trump's are rising. So I think back in 2016 and in 2020, Trump's numbers were lower than they are now. There was a bigger gap. So I don't always believe the polls. I look at the betting websites, and they have Trump up, I think, like 56%. So yeah, that's what I would say about that. Kamala's just a weak candidate. She's weak. She doesn't know policy. She doesn't even know where she's a puppet of Biden. They're all just puppets, and they're doing what they're told. She's doing the best she can. I mean, she's a corrupt individual, but she's just doing what her people are telling her to do. And she's not a great actor. She's not that great enough of an actress to make it to the finish line, to the end of the movie, which is November 5th. Mm-hmm.
Would it be fair to say that every woman that goes out and votes for Kamala is basically justifying her promiscuous behavior that got her to where she is in the first place?
I mean, I would say yes. I can't possibly fathom or understand why any woman would be voting for Kamala Harris. Some women justify it. They say they want a woman president. Okay, sure, maybe one day. Is she going to be the first president? No way. Not for me anyway. I would be embarrassed to have her as a woman president. As our first female president, that's humiliating. I think everything she stands for is horrible. I mean, she worked her way to the top by literally.
Let her back. I'll say it for you.
Yeah, okay, well there you go. So yeah, she's a bad example for women. She's a bad example for younger girls that look up to the President of the United States and say, I want to be that one day. She sets no example for us and does nothing for us.
What was that event you mentioned?
December 9th, Park City's Republican Women, every year we have a Christmas lunch, and we actually are having Riley Gaines as our guest speaker. So I think it'll be a really great turnout, great event. Tickets, we'll start advertising it and sending out emails, and so I would love to see as many faces here as I can. Thank you all.
Thank you.
So we come to a time, if we have any office holders, candidates, who'd like to come up and, take a minute or two.
Hi, I'm Angela Powell. I represent you in the Plain ISD School Board. And I'm here to actually ask you to make sure that you vote down ballot for all our judges, all the Collin County judges and all our Dallas judges too, because they're on our ballot. So Jessica Lewis, she's running for the Fifth Court of Appeals, place 2. Please remember, when you see her name, please vote for her and vote for all our Republicans. Thank you.
So we come to the magic time for our door prize. It could be worth millions. No? Did anybody not get a little red?
I didn't get close. Hey, excuse me, Steve. Yeah, there's a one.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one thing
sure. Go
about
ahead.
Constable Sammy Knapp. He's running for his 4th term for Collin County Precinct 3. So, he does have a Democrat opponent for the first time for his 4th term. He has been the constable for the last 12 years. He's a Christian man. He's done a lot for the constable office by bringing in an in-house training program. He's brought in equipment to keep all of his deputies, his staff safe, and to improve the efficiency of the constable precinct 3 office. So if you can remember to go down the ballot, vote for Constable Sammy Knapp, that'd be much appreciated. All right, thank you.
announcements? Anything else? All right. We always, typically it's the men's club, but we like to ask a beautiful lady to choose our winner tonight.
8905471. I didn't pick myself.
That would have been cool.
That would have been nice. Anybody have it? 471?
471?
Yeah.
There you
All
go.
right.
All right.
Well done. I've got the prize. Well done. Wendell, see, it's so easy to pick that up. Sorry. So our next meeting will be next month, November 21st on Thursday. The last announcement I wanted to make is close to what Stephen was saying. Those signs over there, the ones that are make our kids safe again, make groceries affordable again, those are, and Mark, could you point out the other
Yep.
signs? These are all free
The Vote
to
Republican
take.
signs are free. The Ted Cruz signs are free. The ones over there are free. And if you live in SD 70, you can get a Steve Kennard sign also for free. And obviously, for our Dallas County folks, the generic make our kids safe again, vote Republican or vote Cruz or whatever, you can take those with you. We have plenty more signs that are going to be delivered here. Do not hesitate. If you think you've got 5 neighbors that would put up signs, grab you. And the wire things are over there in 2 waste baskets. So I get the little wire frames that the signs stick on, so you can stick it in the ground.
Fantastic, thanks. I like to end up on a high note like that. Free signs, it's great. Free stuff, but not like Democrat government free stuff. Real free stuff. So with that, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. Thank you all very much.